You can absolutely conquer whatever it is you choose to confront. In this show, we talk PTG, we listen and believe, we support and empower. Whether you have experienced domestic violence personally or not, someone you know has. Your circle of family, friends, acquaintances, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience domestic violence at some point in their life. Physical abuse is only one of the many forms of domestic violence. Survivors also report experience of verbal, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial, electronic, and so much more. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It can leave you traumatized and devastated, mentally, emotionally, financially. You can find yourself homeless, jobless, helpless. The list can go on. There's blankets of insecurities, triggers, doubts, and other residual effects that become hurdles that impact our life as we do our best to move on. Many people associate butterflies with a sense of freedom. We've been taught along the way to focus on the transformation that takes place inside of the cocoon. I invite you to take a moment to conceptualize all the odds the caterpillar was up against and needed to defeat in order to get to a safe place, to build its cocoon and actually experience the transformation. My name is A. Garcia. I am a mother and survivor of a double attempted homicide. Now, I'm dedicating my life to take yours to the next level by experiencing post-traumatic growth to begin a new chapter in your life. Let's get started on this journey together. Confronting Domestic Violence is a 501c3. All contributions, volunteers, and sponsorships are welcomed. It takes a community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code. Hey, Garcia here, and thank you for tuning in. What we cover here is not intended to ignite any triggers. For what you want to conquer, you must confront. So, welcome to Confronting Domestic Violence. Today, I have a woman that is wonderful and beautiful in every way imaginable. She has exposure and experience that she is willing to openly share with us. And without any further ado, I would like to welcome Kathleen to our platform. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you, A. Garcia. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. We've had plenty of conversations backstage, offline, and trying to figure out of the bucket that you have of things to share, what is it that you want to bring to our audience today?
I really want to let the audience know that time is linear. So if you are in a bad way on one day, it changes the next. Always stay hopeful, always stay confident, and just know that there's always somebody sent to help you. You just have to look around.
That's right. That's right. And time is the only resource that's not recyclable.
That's the truth.
You do get many chances every time that hand moves, you know?
That's right. That's right.
And I think that's the beautiful thing is every day we're slated with a blank page that we can write on and create ourselves.
That's right. New stories, new adventures, new living. Just because just the mere fact that you were born is your birthright to do whatever you put. It is the mere fact, it's our birthright that we are alive, that we are given a chance to have a full life with purpose, with desires, with paths to follow. Don't never undercut yourself because you're put in a bad situation. There's always a way out. There's always a way out. We are here for a purpose. And there's always people here to help you. You just have to look around.
That's right. That's right. Kathleen, you have so much to share. You're like a wealth of information, resources, just wisdom in general. Honestly, you have been through a lot and you're doing so much to give back, which I applaud you for. And my definition of that is post-traumatic growth. Those that have heard me for some time now, they know that's what I'm all about. And I love that almost everyone that has gone through such trauma in their life comes out on the other side feeling positive by the way they're giving back and helping others. And that is something that I am just so profusely grateful for.
I am as well, because people think that when they look at you, she hasn't been through that, or she doesn't know the struggle. That is the beauty of getting to the other side.
Right.
That is the beauty of getting to the other side. When you get to the other side, it's like you have a badge of honor, and your story is definitely your jewels.
That's
So, with that being said, you use those jewels to catapult yourself forward and just allow the universe to help you as you're going forward. They will put people in line with what you need to help you and to facilitate anything that you need to get in a safe space so you can get on the other side. We're not made to stay, but we're made to learn from our mistakes and keep going forward.
That's right. That's right. And I cannot wait for you to share your story so it can be a resource to our listeners, because I really do believe that our stories can be a resource that can provide wisdom or even save a life. Is if they're going through something and they remember that they heard somebody else's story, it's, oh my gosh, I recall this. It's so many times that a person's story can actually become a life-saving resource for somebody else. And if it may not be right now at this second, it can definitely be later on in life when they're exposed to something and they can remember, oh my gosh, I heard this somewhere. And I remember this woman was saying XYZ. And now they have at least some sort of insight and some understanding, and then know, what to do or where to take their issue or concern or questions from there. Again, I just thank you so much for having the courage and the desire to be here and share what you're willing to share. So please, wherever you want to get started.
Um, and thank you again for having me. I guess my journey, my really life changing journey started in Passaic County. My journey began in Passaic County. I left my town of Middlesex County to go to Paterson, New Jersey in 2002. I returned to my hometown of Middlesex County in 2021. I encountered not really difficulty, but I went there to get freedom from stress, freedom from the same mundane lifestyle, freedom from demons that I call of my own family lineage.
Mm.
Went over there and started going to school. I never finished high school because I was one of those young teenage girls that got pregnant when they were 17. So, with all my family's hopes for me, and I got pregnant, I was a bit embarrassed. So, I dropped out in the 10th grade. I went out there to Passaic County and I enrolled in school. When I enrolled, I not only graduated high school, I was class valedictorian. Look at that.
Yeah.
And I was pulled to confidential domestic violence advocacy in a strange way to me. And to this day, I still don't realize how much it was a part of my life until I reflect back into my childhood when I remember and recall my sister's boyfriends always beating him up, always dominance, always taking charge. And I was always the little girl in the background jumping on their backs. Get off of my sister and stop it. And I remember my sister leaving our home. I didn't know where she went. She just disappeared.
Without any communication?
My sister disappeared and I didn't know where she was at. Years later, I found out that she went to a safe house in Cape May County to get away from her boyfriend, which was her husband by then. She was always battered. She was always bruised. Her face was always beat up. And in my mind, I was wondering, why is she staying in a situation like that? And she doesn't have to say. But as I got older and as I've done a lot of work on myself and went to school for psychology, I realized that everybody just can't leave because it seems like it's the answer. It's deeper than that. It's much deeper. It's a whole mindset. Everything starts in the mind, and it's a whole mindset. That's why I have compassion. I have compassion, and I had compassion for the people who I worked with in Passaic County because I know the struggle. I know that when somebody says, why is she submitting herself to that? And why is she not leaving? It's much deeper than that. It's a whole mindset of self worth. It's a whole mindset of being secure in oneself to feel safe enough to know that if I step out of this situation, I'm going to be okay. These women are fearing for their lives, literally, and it's not easy.
Right. And you know what? You're touching on some things that if you haven't gone through it, it's really hard to understand. And, what you're saying as it relates to the mindset, not only the mindset to know that, you don't belong there, but the mindset of reversing all of that negativity and all of the conditioned behaviors that whether they were covert or in your face, it after a certain amount of time, that's what you've gotten used to, that's what you've acclimated to. Now that's what you expect, that's how you flow. And anything outside of that may seem abnormal, hence causing all of that confusion within and taking away that confidence and that strength within to do what needs to get done, but you just don't have the strength mentally in order to do it because we're full of doubts when we get pulled through those hot coals.
And I agree with you 100%. I think when we are conditioned, we have a feeling of being belittled, where we
Absolutely.
think that we don't deserve to be in a situation better than the situation we are in right now. We
Yeah.
don't deserve to step out. Who are you to want to leave a situation where you're in the basically the love language in these individuals who's doing it, they have no recall of what they do. They are demeaning to the human spirit. They
Mm.
it seems like they are sent to make you feel lower than dirt. So you can stay in that situation. Some of them says nobody's gonna want you if you leave me. I love you. And like you said, the conditioning since birth that make us feel like we don't have any self-worth, that we're not worthy of what's on the other side is already embedded in us. Like you said, it's like a breaking of a chain that has to occur within us that's going to allow us to move forward and step out on faith to say, when I step out, having faith and stepping out on that faith and knowing after we step out that we are safe, I think that gives us a little confidence to take that chance to move forward. Because once we're out that door, it's on us, basically. It's on us. It's like we're at that crossroads.
Right.
Are we going to move forward to the unknown? Or are we going to go backwards to stuff that we have been familiar with for all of our lives? So I'm counting on the woman and I'm supporting the woman who's taking that leap of faith. I'm
That's right.
supporting that woman who's going to have that courage to step forward because I know, just like I was saying in the beginning, our birthright is to have it all, anything we want. All of those invisible things that's keeping us stuck to us, we're going to remove those. We're going to pick them off of us. That's not who we are.
That's right. That's
Mhm.
right. And the courage
Mhm.
and the strength to do that and not go back, not return.
And
Just
not
because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's for you. It just means you're familiar.
That's the truth. And that's where the work begins. After we leave that
Mhm.
environment, that's where the work begins. And that's when we start developing.
That's right. Now you talked a
That
bit.
thing, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, go
That
ahead,
thing
please.
that was supposed to be developed when we were young.
Yeah.
That thing that's waiting to be exposed, to brought to the light. It's waiting to be brought to the light.
That's right. And we carry the light within. So that's why we gravitate towards it. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Now, thank you for sharing just a tidbit of what your sister went through and the exposure that you had as a child. Have you yourself experienced any form of DV?
I think mentally, not physically, but mentally, which is just as bad.
Oh, yes.
Because if somebody's playing mind games with you could actually lose your mind. You can lose
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
100%. And that is one of every form of domestic violence is terrible. When it is mental, like you said earlier, everything starts with your mind. So what you
Mhm.
think is how you walk, what you
That's
think
right.
is how you're responding to people, what you
That's
think is
true.
how you think people are actually talking to you. And if that mindset is not in the right space, you got everything wrong.
That's right.
And everybody that's trying to help you, you got them wrong too, because you're not thinking that's what they're actually doing. Instead, you take it personal, they don't know what they're talking about, etc. And how do you, or how did you work through that mental confusion and that abuse that you received? Like, how were you able to identify it, and what did you do to get through that?
It was like a puzzle. I would say it was like a puzzle. One thing led me to another. Then an epiphany went on. I was always a journaler. That helped me a lot because journaling, believe it or not, journaling uncomfortable or painful experiences will make you look at everything that's going on. Bing, bing. And one day, the sirens is going to go off in your head and it's going to let you know something's not right here. Somebody's trying to lower your self esteem. They're trying to make you think that you're crazy. They're trying to make you doubt who you know you are. And you have to call them out on it. So I got to the point where I'm the youngest of nine. So I was always a yes little girl. Oh, yes, everything is yes. I think my experience, and it's always, I want people to know that too. Within your experience, there's always a takeaway that's allowing you to know who you really are. Even if you don't know at the time, when you come out of a situation, you're gonna know yourself so much better than you ever had in your whole entire life. Nobody can, it's not even gonna be able to tell you who you are.
I
You really are.
love it. Oh my gosh, Kathleen, one of the things that I say a lot is when you go through some of that trauma, that mental, emotional trauma, where you are full of doubts, the doubts feel like a blanket around you, almost like a sleeping bag zipped you inside of it. Okay.
Yes.
And it's almost like a trap. And when you come out of that, even if you are not quite sure or you can't really identify who you are to the core, you surely know who you're not, which still means you know who you are. So, however you look at it, I know who I'm not. So, that means this is who I am.
That's right. And I was getting beat in my head a lot with that. It's because they try, and I'm speaking about right now, speaking about my experience, I'm speaking about narcissistic relationships. And they try to tear you down by telling you you're not this or you don't do that. One day, something came up inside of me, and I think I found my voice. This voice that has been stifled for so long. And I looked at him and I said, I'm not that, what you're saying. I'm not that at all. I'm this. Why are you trying to convince me that I'm that? So that was the beginning. I think that was the beginning of my epiphany moment that, okay, this guy's trying to tear me apart bit by bit.
Mentally
That's
and emotionally. Yes.
mentally and emotionally, wanted me in the house all the time, didn't want me to go out. They knew I struggled with my weight, was always food. Oh, they'll buy me food. They'll
Hmm.
buy me sweet sweets. Stay in. I want to go work out. No, why do you want to go? Yeah, it was that. Yes, it was that
Wow.
bad.
And see,
Yes,
and here's the thing is that it's silent. It's covert. Like you don't realize it until it gets to the point where you're like, "Wait a second, I need to stand up for myself because I'm not a
yes,
turtle, I'm a human." And this guy's telling me I'm a
yes,
turtle. So I'm just
yes.
making light of that.
Yeah,
It's
I
telling
know
you
what you're
everything
saying.
that you're not.
And it was just like that. And it was like, okay, why? It got to the point, why are you going out dressed up and you want me to stay in the house? It was getting like
Mm.
that. So I was like, it was something, as the days went by, it was never resonating in me the way it's supposed to. It was like, I'm miserable.
Because you're in love.
but I'm miserable. I don't care how much he goes out and gets paid and he wants to shut me up by having an argument, then he'll go and buy me something.
Mm.
That's mind games.
Yes.
Yes. So eventually I got to the point where it didn't take me much courage. I got to the point where I said I'm done. And at this point, I had went through almost 11 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
I know. And this is the funny part. And it's not funny as in haha funny, but funny
Right.
as in weird. I tried to leave him and it was like it wasn't time yet. So whatever lesson that I was supposed to learn before I stepped out that door, it had to be just like you said, solidified. It had to be where I wasn't going to return. It has to be where this voice, this newfound voice that I found was not.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you yet.
Okay.
Okay. It stopped. I'm sorry. It paused right where you said it's this new voice that I found. My new voice that I found.
Okay. The new voice that I found, it was confident now. It was strong. It was different. Put it this way, I think that by his mentally abusive ways, he took me through such a rigorous obstacle course, which I call it. I was different when I came out on the other side. And I was willing to say, no, it's time for us to separate for my mental health. And I forgot to tell you, for my son, I have a 12-year-old son from this relationship.
Wow. So you were with this guy almost since the baby was born. Because is he the father?
Yes.
Okay. So this has been like your high school sweetheart.
No.
Okay. I was just basing that off of the story you had, how you shared the story earlier where you were 17 and got pregnant while you were in high school. So that's
Oh
why I
no.
asked that. I'm sorry.
This was a gentleman I met in Passaic County. Really a positive person. They always come off like that.
Yeah.
Until the mask fell. And when the mask fell, I seen the real person. That's how they work. They put on a facade and they wear masks. If you're religious and I go to church, so do I. I like this, so do I. Oh, I like sunsets in the morning, so do I. I'm a morning person. I am too. So they try to appease every piece of you, everything you like or desire, or anything you.
See, this is the good stuff, man. Can you hear me yet? I can't hear you. I can't hear you yet. It stopped right where you said everything you desire. I'm like, girl, it's getting good. Okay, you're back.
Gosh, okay.
Hey, at least we're making this fun, we're not like
All right, where was I at?
because you said that they'll tell you everything that you desire.
Yeah, they'll tell you everything that you desire and everything that you ever like. They are the same.
Mm-hmm.
To get in your world, to get
Mm-hmm.
in your space.
That's
And
right.
then it always takes at least about 2 to 3 months for the mask to fall off. And when that mask fall off, it's like you're seeing a totally different person. You're not even going to recognize this person. You're not going to recognize him. And as you was going along and you was being mesmerized and you was being dated and you was being all the good restaurants, he had at least two people in the background. It's like they take on different personalities, covert, overt, different personalities, and they live different lives. I found out the most about narcissists. I think I went on a whole sabbatical, reading books, being guided to people who.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me yet? Can you hear me yet? Okay. There you
There you
go.
go.
Okay. All right.
Where
So
did we leave
you
off?
yeah, it stopped right where you said to a sabbatical where that was it. It's paused right there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I said I went through a whole sabbatical of reading books, being guided to people with the same situation as myself, and being guided to Instagram groups where people was headed up on how to do different things, how to stay away from them, which they call no contact,
Mm.
how to co-parent with the narc, how to keep it simple so you don't get yourself all worked up because their idea of getting in contact with you is not for the child. It's to get you all worked up and upset. They pick and they poke and they pick and they poke. And they're energy drainers. They'll suck the life out of you. Once you finish a conversation with them, you're depleted.
Yeah.
So I learned a bunch of things in regards to that. And when I left, that's when I came back here to my town of Middlesex County. I live in Middlesex County. And I'm in more peace than I've ever been before in my life.
I am so happy to hear that. That is the light. That is the light. Peace, there is no price you can put on peace. And you had said something that I want to just dig a little bit more, if you don't mind, when you said you felt it. And when you say you felt it, can you explain to our audience some of those things that you felt so that if they're feeling some of those things, maybe they can recognize that they're with a narcissist or with somebody that is tearing them down or breaking them apart mentally, emotionally? If there's anything that you can share that you is tangible that you felt, like a
Sure.
trigger almost maybe.
There's going to be a bunch of triggers.
There we go. We can start there.
Yes. One thing I noticed that they'll say things to offend you. And then after you call them out on them, I was just playing. It was in jest. They will, like I said before, call you out and comment. Let's just say hypothetically, comment on your weight. And then when you try to do something about it, they don't want you to do it. They want you to stay basically under their wing. They
Stay
want you
in.
to they
I'm
want you to stay under your wing, under their wing. They want to make you. They want to demean you as much as possible. They really don't like you. I
That's what
think
I was
they're
gonna
really.
ask you.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
they're really separated from their spirit. I think their spirit is dormant because we all have spirits. So I can't say. Some people say their spirit is. They don't have a spirit. Some people say they're demonic. Some people say they was never connected to God. I don't believe that. I think that something traumatic happened to them when they was little that disconnected them.
Okay.
So they basically, what I would tell your listeners, they basically have no emotion.
So if the person that's in it, if they're feeling insecure, if they're questioning who they are, if they're wondering why, if like you said earlier, if you don't like your weight, but you want to work towards your weight, but then they're saying no and giving you the things to increase your weight, that's keeping you insecure. That's like
Yeah,
purposefully keeping you insecure. And like you had mentioned earlier, like it's okay for them to go somewhere, get dolled up and leave the house, but then you have to stay. That to me sounds I'm very familiar with the power and control wheel. That's definitely a part of it. And so for the listeners, if you're feeling great when you're with your friends or family or coworkers, but then you start feeling the opposite on your way home or even thinking about going home, there's some flags right there. Those are some things to hone in on and tune in to because nobody knows you better than you. And if you know who you are and you're feeling the exact opposite of what you know you are, then these are the things. And crying continuously, constantly, that's definitely a tall tale sign, is what I like to call it. Gosh, there's so much that we don't realize when our heart is involved because we love and we believe, right? And sometimes the love and belief and the desire can be way bigger than reality. Our love and our desires can be way bigger than our reality. And with that, when you do have the courage to use your voice and make a change for yourself, which I applaud you for, and I'm sure that your son applauds you for, which we haven't even really touched on. Was he supportive? How did that go when you decided to leave?
Oh my gosh. That was the hardest decision I had to make because I already know that my son and his dad had an ultimate rapport. They were thick as thieves, okay? I had to immediately find counseling for my son. It was very rough. He couldn't process the fact that, like you said, he's been in the house with him ever since he was born. So he's 11 years old and now we're separated. So he didn't understand it on one hand, and then on the other hand, he didn't like the way his father treated me, but he loves his father to death. So for a child to wrap their mind around both concepts at the same time, it's hard for him, I think. My son is honor roll. He kept his straight A's through the whole 2020. It came down on him in 2021, where he was losing hold of things and his grades were slipping. I was getting emails from the school, and I right away looked for someone for him to talk to in regards to that. Found a young man in his early 20s who could relate to youngsters, like 11 years old or so, and he liked the guy, and it was at least about 4 months counseling.
Wow. And then this was right around when COVID hit too. So the shutdown and the lockdown. Oh my
And we
goodness.
both had COVID at the same time. Me and my
Oh,
son. Yes,
wow.
it was rough. It
You
was
know,
rough. That speaks to courage again.
yes,
You have to know that there's something on the other side for you.
that's right. And to
You have
seek
to know.
help to get there.
Yes, and seek help to get there and know that you're going to be okay. Yes, that was the biggest decision I made. I'm used to all the way up to then, we was a family. Dysfunctional as hell, but we was a family.
Yeah.
We argued all the time, which was a problem with me in front of my child. So I had to make that conscious decision whether are you going to subject yourself to arguing in front of this baby until he's grown, or are you going to change the cycle? To me, it's all about changing the cycle.
That's
And to
right.
me, if I've seen it and witnessed this ever since I was younger, and there's still dysfunction stuck to me, those things that I was telling you about, I'm invisible things that unspoken contracts, as I call them, of your bloodline. No, I was here to change it.
Is that the title of your book?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I have.
Unspoken Contracts. That is the title of your
Yes,
book. You said that, and I was like, wait a second. I want our audience to hear this so they know where to
yes,
go so they can get your book.
yes. My book, Unspoken Contracts, will be out pretty soon, probably before May. And you can find it where most books are sold. It will be an ebook. It'll be at Barnes and Nobles. It'll be online. It'll be on Amazon. It'll be everywhere books are sold. And it touched bases on basically what we're talking about. It touched bases on those bloodlines where I feel in every family, I think there's nobody exempt. I don't care which on the outside. There's unspoken contracts, and I call them unspoken contracts because they came to me one day when I was thinking about families. I'm gonna go as far as back to say families that I've read about in New York. I'm gonna give you, and when I tell you about this story, or overview rather, you're gonna understand what I'm saying. There was this family that I was reading about that had the mother got shot, the grandmother, wait a minute, the grandmother first, then the mother, and then the daughter got shot the same way. These are three generations, okay? These are three generations who lived rough in their lifetime that experienced the same unspoken contracts. Now, us on this side, we're talking about dysfunction, we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about mental abuse. That could be in our family bloodline, which is our unspoken contracts. It's going to take one person to break the cycle where our grandchildren, our children's children, don't have to experience the same thing that we experience.
And you've done that yourself. You have broken some serious cycles yourself.
And they come without, they come with a whole lot of work, and they come with a whole lot of perseverance and determination. Trust me.
That's right. That's right. But it's for the better outcome. Like you said, for
Mhm.
your family lineage, you're leaving a legacy. You're creating a legacy, not
I'm,
leaving a legacy. You're doing both.
I am creating a legacy, and I want it to stop with me. Matter of fact, I don't want it to stop with me. It's going to stop with me.
That's
And I want to help people, and I want to help people in situations such as this. Confidential domestic violence advocacy hits home to me now, which when it didn't hit home to me in Passaic County.
but that's
It's
what you're
like
doing right now, right? I was just gonna say, and what you're doing
that's,
today is exactly that.
that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And soon I will be launching something really good that's going to help too. Because I want to reach more people, and I want to reach people one on one, and I want to be of service until my eyes closes on this side. Yes, I do.
Wow. And I won't ask what that is because I can tell that you're not ready to share yet. However, when that is executed, I would love to have you
Yes,
back so you can let our audience know as a follow up what you have created, where people can go and find you for resources or assistance or anything else for that matter.
of course.
And so we'll save that for another interview when that
Yep,
launches. And if you
sounds
want
good.
to tell our audience now, basically what you are doing, because you're in advocacy, you are a DV advocate today.
Yes, I am. It's for the state of New Jersey. I get the call. I go to the hospitals. I help people out. I'm not registered here since I got here, so I'm called inactive. And that's one thing about having your advocacy certification. You can start it up anywhere. And I will be starting it up here in Middlesex County, and I will be helping out as an advocate for this area.
Wow, my heart just goes out to you. I am a huge advocate for seeking an advocate. I haven't shared my personal story because I'm the host, not the guest. But it took me over 1,000 phone calls, over 16 months to find an advocate. I literally called, when I say over 1,000 calls, it's like 1-800 numbers after 1-800 numbers. I just kept getting referrals to other organizations, other numbers. And
Right.
that's how long it took for me to find
Mhm.
an advocate. And once I found the advocate, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, the knowledge that the advocate has. There's
Mhm.
no way in the
Right.
world that one person can find out all the information that's needed that the advocate
Mhm.
holds.
That's true.
And I will just have to say that me personally, that is why I'm an advocate for advocacy because it saved my life. It gave
Yes.
me, my advocate allowed me and my children a second chance at life because she knew the programs that were available to
Mhm.
transition from a homeless victim to a safe parent, a safe mother.
Yes. Yes. And that's what we do. That's what
Oh
we
my
do.
gosh. And it's not easy. It is not easy. I also understand that there's a lot of people that come to you for help. You can help them, but at the end of the day, even no matter how much blood, sweat, and tears you put in, they are in control of their decisions. And some
Mhm.
of them are disheartening. However, you still have the ability to manage, or let me retract that. How do you, how do you, and what do you do to manage your emotions when you are living vicariously, unintentionally through their trauma? That is a form of your own trauma.
Great question. Usually, when this is happening, I am like, my face is solemn, but my heart is with the victim.
Of course.
There's a lot of decompression that goes into that, and it's so funny because when I started advocacy, a friend of mine, and she lives in Canada, she started me on meditation. She started me, and she introduced me to meditation. and the different ways that you can decompress. She said it's not foolproof because everybody is not a meditator. I'm
Right.
gonna let you know that now. Everybody.
Facts.
She said everybody cannot just lay there and free their minds. I'm gonna tell you that now. So don't think it's. But she guided me. She told me to first of all go to YouTube, and she told me to find a guided meditation. And on YouTube, they have all different type. They have the cymbals, they have the gongs, they have the rain. They have different sounds, and some sounds are not. They don't go with you. Some sounds you'll listen to and you'll be like, "Oh no, that's making me feel uncomfortable." But then you'll find your sound, and then you'll be like, "Okay, this makes me feel relaxed." And I found me a sound, and I put my earplugs in my ear, and I laid backward and I did my cleansing breaths and I kept feeling my breath. She told me to continuously paying attention to my breath. Don't think about the doorbell ringing, the air in the room. She said, just focus on your breath. And when she said focus on your breath, and I laid back and shut my eyes and focused on my breath, I freed myself.
Wow.
I had no concept of time. When I woke up, I said, whoa, I feel great. Said I feel great. So that helped me. There's other ways of decompressing. There's some people like silence. Like me now, I changed a lot. I don't even have my TV on. If I go through a stressful day, like you said, if I come back from a situation like that, silence is my best friend. I need to process. I don't need to hold in. I don't need to stuff my feelings. I need to just process everything out the way I process it out because we all do it differently.
That's right.
So I need to process that information out. I need to get to the top of the situation. After I finish processing, I did all I can do for that individual. So that's clearing your conscience. You're clearing yourself. You're knowing that you went in with all the intention of doing all you can do.
And thank you for sharing that because I don't think a lot of people get to see or even really think about what advocates really do carry and how they balance that out because even friends or coworkers or even family members sometimes won't help a victim. And then it's not that we're like, it's not, that doesn't mean that they don't care, that they don't love. That can just mean that they don't know what to do or how to do it. And then that also means that the victim needs to go and find somebody who does. And the people who are not dealing with it, I don't think that they really conceptualize how much the advocates carry and how much they take in as it relates to helping that victim. So, with you actually sharing some of the weight that is carried, and then the solution and releasing that and the mindset that it takes in order to balance yourself and release, like you said, that is so healthy. And I know that it's not easy. It takes a lot, especially when you have your own personal trauma. And I know you've worked through it. It doesn't mean that it can't be triggered as soon as you hear a victim saying something that is very similar to what you have experienced.
Yes, because of our first interview, we touched base on that, and I got really emotional just thinking about the person. Compassion. You have to have
Yeah.
compassion in heart.
Yeah.
You cannot be an advocate without a compassion
That's
because
right.
the hardness to me shows some kind of resistance.
And
You
with your
can't.
that's right. And you can't. That's right. So I want to ask if you have a wounds to wisdom statement you'd like to share with our audience.
Wounds to wisdom. Trust your inner voice.
Ooh. Yes, trust it. I
It,
believe
it will
that
not lie to you.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Say that again.
I said, trust your inner voice. It will not lie to you. It will guide you. It will direct you. It will keep you focused. It'll keep you safe. Trust your inner voice.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I feel like, my personal opinion, when we're children, we listen to our inner voice more than we listen to anything else. That's why we do the most wildest things and have no fear of jumping off a roof.
Yes,
And
it's
then,
true.
yeah, and then as we get older and really when we become adults, we start second guessing and doubting that inner voice and
There's the
sometimes
individual.
bypassing it.
I believe that too. Yeah.
So, for our listeners, if you know that's what you're
Mhm.
doing, ignoring, sweeping under the rug, or just completely avoiding your inner voice, listen to her wounds to wisdom. Tap into
Mhm.
that inner voice because it is going to steer you the right direction.
Sure. I will, without a doubt.
My gosh. Now, before we end the interview, I wanted to ask if there is any identifiable gap or rant that you would like to share.
Gap or rant? Be more specific.
Sure. Like a gap with domestic violence in total, whether it's in a community, a state, a school, a workforce, any gap that you have identified in your stream of work or exposure or experience that you've identified or the rant about it.
I would like to touch base on the domestic violence that I know been happening since the pandemic. The people that were shut in and helpless at the time. I know that I don't know the statistics on it, but I know that there's a lot of people still suffering. And I know there's a lot of people still shut in. It's only 2023. I don't know the solution. I would just like to have an online call to healing for these people so they can come out. I would like to create a safe space, which we're speaking about it in little increments, a safe space so they can come out of that house. I want them out of that house. I want them in a safe space. I want them to get help. I believe the longer they've stayed in there, I believe that they are really afraid to come out now more than ever. The conditioning started there during the pandemic, and I think that it has got too heavy. So I would like a call online platform to open it up. I would like more discussions on domestic violence channels to open it up, to assure them with repetition and with consistency to let them know that it's okay now. It's fine. Come out. It's okay. We got you. So that's my little rant because they have been on my mind for over a year now, to be honest with you, because I thought about them during, even with my own COVID, I thought about them. Oh my God, nobody can move. How are these families? What's going on behind these closed doors? How are these families surviving like this? So it's something that's really penetrated my heart, which I'm going to really make some progress in bringing to the light.
And you've already started just by being on this platform right here. This is confronting domestic violence and
I
bringing
know.
awareness and
I know.
identifying and coming together because what you're saying right now sounds very similar to like the prayer lines that they have. People can call in,
Yes.
request a prayer, say a prayer, give a prayer, and all that kind of stuff. And having a hotline like that for people that are in it and borderline not they want to get out but they're not sure, something like that can be so extremely helpful.
Yes, it
So
will.
extremely
I think
helpful.
so too. I think so too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going places and you're already laying out the foundation, honey. So I
Well, I'm
love
glad
it.
to lay. I'm glad to lay it out with you. I'm glad.
Yeah, yeah, we are laying the foundation together, and I believe we're gonna nurture this relationship beyond this platform. And I just wanted to say a couple other things because the pandemic definitely created an additional pandemic of domestic violence. So it's a pandemic within a pandemic. And what I have found based on my research personally is that a lot of funding that was going for domestic violence when COVID-19 hit All the funding went to COVID-19, no matter where the funding was going, domestic violence or other organizations, it was just all funding needed to go to COVID. And so when you think about it, where not just the adults are now working from home, but then the kids had to do school from home. And if there was already an unhealthy, toxic environment between the adults and now the kids that were normally woohoo in school and not anywhere around that, now it's like the whole entire family is in that environment. And I feel like I'm going on a rant right now, but I am. But I just want to share with you that one of the visions Confronting Domestic Violence has is reaching OSHA, because see, OSHA already has a mandated workplace violence policy. And if
Mhm.
we can just incorporate domestic violence into that already mandated policy, because see, more than 50% of workplace violence is actually domestic violence spillover. More than 70% of workplace homicide is domestic violence spillover.
I believe it.
So so why
Mhm.
that's not incorporated yet is beyond
Right.
me, and that is one of our visions, is to go to OSHA and see what needs to be done and if it has to go through legislation. However, it just needs to be incorporated. It's already a mandated policy. And then of course, I carry on a little bit like, what good is a policy without a program? We need to have
That's
a
true.
program.
That's right. That's right. That's
So
right.
yeah, so then if you don't have a place to clock in and you have to work from home, there OSHA should have something there for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate your time today, all that you're doing to give back. Thank you for sharing your story, your exposures. I know there's a lot more. This is what you chose out of your bucket today, but when I have you
Mhm.
back to celebrate your launch and have you like talk about it and give the links and all the information where to find you
Yes.
for that, we can come up with another topic out of those buckets. And
Okay.
if you want to tell our listeners today if you have anywhere they can find you now, and again, just rename your book again.
Okay. My book is called, look, I forgot the name of my book.
Unspoken Contracts.
Unspoken Contracts. I am launching a podcast called Cathartic Conversations. It will be out soon. And look for me on YouTube. Look for me on Instagram. Look for me. I'm going to make an announcement through Miss A. Garcia. We will be launching pretty soon. And hopefully we can help a whole lot of people that's in trouble. Okay.
Yes, we will. And I will definitely make sure that I caption your places that you just mentioned, the cathartic conversation and the title of your book. All of that will be on caption below our faces when this launches to our
Thank you.
producers.
Oh, thank you
Absolutely.
very much. Mhm.
I am so excited and elated, so privileged and honored to have you here today. And I look forward to having you back. And congratulations. Any support that the community can give you, like you said, reach out.
I will. I will. Thank you so much, Ed. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You also.
Confronting Domestic Violence is a 501c3. All contributions, volunteers, and sponsorships are welcomed. It takes a community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code.